Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Be part of the conversation. Tell us what you think in the comment section. And please like and share our videos with your friends and family. The next broadcast will start shortly. If you care about South Africa and want to make a positive difference, then join the DA. Visit our website at da.org.za for more information. Find out who represents you in your ward and district and who are the DA mayors working for you in your town or city, and which MPs represent you and your causes in Parliament. On our website, you can learn more about our latest campaigns and how you can get involved. Join the Democratic Alliance to rescue South Africa. Become an activist, become a councillor, become a member of Parliament if you care about South Africa. Please visit donate.da.org.za. Donate to a cause you believe in. Donate to make a difference. Did you know the DA is the second biggest party in South Africa, making the DA the official opposition in Parliament? The DA is the only opposition party to govern a province, the award-winning Best Run Western Cape. The best run municipalities in South Africa are all governed by the DA. DA mayors are working hard to protect residents from national government failures by getting the basics right, delivering better services, and having zero tolerance for corruption. This is the DA difference. The next broadcast will start shortly. Follow us on social media for the latest in news and politics in South Africa. Like and follow our page on Facebook. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Be part of the conversation. Tell us what you think in the comment section. And please.
We've already seen a series of mass killings, farm attacks, and GBV cases that continue to take the lives of innocent women and children. Over 10 million South Africans have no jobs to return to, and more than 30 million people are still living in poverty. 1 in 5 children in our country go to bed hungry because people can no longer afford to feed their families. And behind each one of these crises, behind all of this daily suffering, there is one common factor. Life in South Africa has gotten dramatically worse and more difficult over the past 6 years due to one reason: because a coward is occupying the union buildings. And it is time now to tell it like it is. President Cyril Ramaphosa is a coward. Everything he has done since coming to power has been motivated by a cowardly desire to stay in power at all costs, to protect the corrupt, and to keep his shattered political party united. His uncaring government doesn't bat an eyelid about the suffering of the people. While the people suffer under load shedding, him and his ministers use taxpayers' money to live like rock stars in mansions with generators. While people suffer at the hands of criminals, the government spends billions on VIP protection for themselves and luxury vehicles. While people cannot find work, they reserve jobs for their cronies through the corrupt system of cadre deployment. This government does not care about you, and they have never cared about you. All the ANC cares about is themselves and protecting their ability to loot no matter the cost to the people of South Africa. Today you will see pictures of ANC leaders eating cake and popping champagne. With every single bite they take, with every single sip they savor, the ANC celebrates the suffering of the people. The tentacles of corruption that feed the ANC have now identified a new target: South Africa's students. While the youth of this country struggle against the odds to try to build a better future, the ANC is stealing their dreams. Just last week, a series of leaked recordings released by the Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse revealed the details of a criminal cartel operating inside the Department of Higher Education and the National Student Financial Aid Scheme known as NSFAS. The recordings reveal that service providers that were awarded multi-million rand tenders to administer direct payments to students allegedly paid kickbacks to the chairman of NSFAS, Ernest Khosa, to the Minister of Higher Education, Minister Nzimande, and to a South African Communist Party. According to OUTA, this was done in return for tenders and protection for service providers. These revelations demonstrate that nothing is sacred to the ANC government. Instead of supporting our students who are working hard to try and rise above hardship in order to build a better future for themselves and our country, the ANC only sees another opportunity to loot. And make no mistake about it, this ANC NSFAS corruption has not been a victimless crime. The awarding last year by NSFAS of direct payment tenders to companies with no proven track record has resulted in students being charged exorbitant fees for every transaction. In many cases, students also receive their allowances late or not at all, leaving many of them unable to even buy food. Thanks to the recently released recordings, we now know why these lucrative tenders were awarded to companies that no one had ever heard of. This was an exchange for kickback payments to Nzimande, Khosa, and the SACP. Every time a student uses their NSFAS card, they're effectively forced to help fund this corrupt scheme. But the scandal doesn't end there. There are also now serious questions swirling around another set of tenders awarded by NSFAS to manage student accommodation. In addition to cutting the accommodation allowance by 15,000 rand per year last year, the scheme now also requires educational institutions and private accommodation providers to obtain accreditation at a cost of up to 200 rand per bed. Once they're accredited, NSFAS also then deducts 5% from the rental amount for what it refers to as a license fee. Just like the exorbitant bank charges introduced last year, this is clearly another lucrative way for cadres and their preferred service providers to milk students and accommodation providers. Last year, we already witnessed the horrific scenes of our students being forced to sleep in libraries, hallways, and bathrooms. But sadly, things are about to get a whole lot worse. By the end of last year, only 6.5% of the beds required for the 2024 academic year had been accredited under the new system. The systemic corruption evident in NSFAS and the Department of Higher Education is likely to trigger a serious crisis when students return to campuses later this month, only to find that they cannot access accommodation and are being charged to fund corruption every time they try to buy food. ANC corruption and mismanagement has already created a funding shortfall of over 1.1 billion rand, which means that funding will be withdrawn from over 87,000 students, in addition to the 20,000 students who were already deprived last year. And yet, despite this existential crisis that threatens to derail our higher education sector, President Cyril Ramaphosa remains absent as usual. Just like he does every time that evidence emerges showing that corruption and capture has reached new heights under his administration, President Ramaphosa takes the coward's way out. Instead of firing Nzimande and Khosa, he has remained silent, while the ANC has meekly suggested that Nzimande may appear before its so-called Integrity Committee. Now, the Constitution spells out that only the President has the responsibility to act against corrupt cabinet ministers. When a minister commits corruption or undermines the cabinet, it is the job of a real leader to deal with that person decisively. President Ramaphosa cannot outsource that responsibility to some toothless committee populated by ANC cadres, many of whom are just as tainted as the persons they are supposed to investigate. The President's innate cowardice is about to do great damage to the higher education sector, just like his failure to lead has worsened load shedding, unemployment, and crime. Since President Ramaphosa cannot or will not do so, the DA will step in to lead, therefore announcing the following steps that will be made. The DA will immediately submit a request under the Promotion of Access to Information Act to obtain a copy of the Vaxmonth's report into the awarding of the direct payment tenders. We will write to President Ramaphosa and the Special Investigating Unit to demand that the scope of the SIU investigation be broadened to include now the alleged kickbacks to Nzimande and the SACP. The Democratic Alliance, including through our shadow ministers and our student organization, will initiate a mass mobilization campaign at campuses across the country to force President Ramaphosa to fire Minister Nzimande. Finally, we are preparing criminal charges against Nzimande, and we are also briefing our legal team to declare the NSFAS board delinquent over the corrupt and irrational direct payment and accommodation tenders. This legal action is in keeping with the findings of the State Capture Commission, which made a clear recommendation that it should become standard practice to declare board members involved in capture and corruption as delinquent. The DA is taking these steps because, unlike the ANC, we care. We care about disadvantaged students who are fighting to rise above challenges to obtain an education in a very difficult environment. We care about creating millions of more jobs, which can only happen through investment in education. And we care about ending ANC corruption, which has stolen so much from our country already. Even as the DA defends students from the corruption of the Ramaphosa administration, we must recognize that none of these corruption scandals are isolated. Corruption has become systemic and endemic over the past few years precisely because of the cowardice of the President. President Ramaphosa himself admitted this even before he became President, when he said, and I quote, that he would rather be seen as a weak president than dividing the ANC. So brazen is the cowardice of President Ramaphosa's ANC that just yesterday, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula even admitted in public that the ANC lied to Parliament, to the courts, and to the people of South Africa to protect Jacob Zuma. But this appeasement strategy has now spectacularly failed, and President Ramaphosa is now reaping the whirlwind. No individual benefited more from President Ramaphosa's innate cowardice than former President Jacob Zuma. President Ramaphosa is so scared to death of Jacob Zuma that he even let over 10,000 prisoners out of prison as an excuse to release the former president from jail. Many of those released have gone on to perpetrate great crimes against the people of South Africa again. Under President Ramaphosa, not a single person, not one, has been imprisoned for state capture. By running scared from the likes of Zuma in Nzimande and the endless list of cadres accused of corruption, President Ramaphosa has sowed the seeds of his own demise. It is time now for South Africa to break out of this vicious cycle, where corruption goes unpunished, and our country and our people are held hostage by the ANC's escalating internal wars. The only way to do that is by voting the ANC out of power, because the ANC is the root cause of corruption. And so, if you've not done so already, I encourage every South African, including the tens of thousands of our students who are now suffering at the hands of Leader Nzimande's corruption and President Ramaphosa's cowardice, to visit check.da.org.za today to ensure that you are registered to vote. Unlike our current president, the people of South Africa are courageous beyond all measure. In just a few short months from now, we must all harness that courage to vote for the DA to rescue South Africa. Thank you very much. In this election, only the registered have the power. If you're tired of load shedding, register to vote. If you're tired of corruption, register to vote.